Hello and happy solar eclipse in Virgo. Today is the day of the big eclipse, so potent and powerful in its energies. So potent and powerful, in fact, that I have been speaking about it all week in 6 separate installments, each one focusing on a different theme or topic about today's eclipse and the chart and the alignments of the planets that show up during this eclipse. I'm Marina Orms here with your Astro Vibe for Sunday, September 21st. And one of the reasons that today's eclipse is so potent has to do with a very rare outer planet alignment, one that only takes shape every 500 years. And even at that, does not take shape typically to the degree of exactness that this one does. So what we've got right now in the outer planet alignments are a sextile very close to exact between Pluto and Neptune, Neptune and Uranus. So a sextile between Pluto and Neptune, a sextile between Neptune and Uranus, creating a trine between Pluto and Uranus. These are outer planets that move so slowly that in the case of Pluto, it takes a full 245 years to make a full cycle around the zodiac. And when you add that together with the cycle of Neptune and the 160-year cycle of Neptune and the 84-year cycle of Uranus, for these three planets to align in this particular configuration only takes place even close once every 500 years. And again, like I said, this particular time that it is happening, it is it is very close to exact, which is unusual. So every 500 years, those planets move, forward in their cycles with Neptune ahead of Pluto and Uranus ahead of Neptune, but don't always allow, and they will form sextiles, but not at the same time. So that is the basis of today's chart for this eclipse, which is the just the alignment, the arrangement of planets in the sky, and that what that outer planet sextile formation creates is a situation where when the planets align in certain ways, they activate those sextiles. And so in the case of today's eclipse, not only is it a new moon, not only is it a new moon that happens to be a solar eclipse, but it is in a position that is opposite Neptune and forming basically a kite. So a giant triangle between Pluto and Uranus and the new moon, the sun and moon at the exact new moon, with the extra uh, position of Neptune being in that sextile on one end of that triangle. So not only do we have a solar eclipse that aligns with these outer planets, but we also have two very, well, we have, so what that does, first of all, is it creates some yods, and yods are unusual in a chart. So a yod is two inconjuncts that it's basically a long skinny triangle that point to a particular planet. So not only do we have that opposition of the sun and moon in creating a kite, but we also have Mars and Venus on either side of the sun and moon creating a yod to Neptune, which, because of the positions of the outer planets, actually makes three yods because though there are two sextiles on that end. I'm getting really technical here, and if you want to see a see the chart and see these alignments and these geometric arrangements and the symmetry and the fascinating shapes that show up in this chart. Check out my video from yesterday about that, where I screen share the chart and show you the shapes and everything. So that was super fun. And also, because of how close these alignments are, how potent they are, how significant and meaningful they are, I have broken down the discussion of today's eclipse and where we are, how it speaks to where we are in our collective evolution, what is showing up, right? Which is a lot, right? It's a lot to process. It's a lot of change. It's a lot of uncertainty. It's a lot of questioning. What does this mean? What's going to happen? So this is both a time that can be, it's a choice point. Right. So it really can be a time of confronting some of the deeper truths of what could happen, what are some of the dark sides, but also seeing that light as well and seeing the creative possibilities of what we could create that looks different from where we've been. So creating based on the future, creating by moving into completely new framing and ways of thinking about things and new consciousness, new structures, new systems. This is a very, very creative time, and that outer planet double sextile trine alignment is a very supportive energy for whatever we are choosing to put out there. So if you are focusing on the negative and the fears and the worries and all that, that's like, that is what the oxygen that the flames will take up, right? But if you are focusing on healing, solutions, new ways forward. How can you be kind? How do we create new systems that work better for everyone? What does that look like? How do we do the healing work in our interpersonal and intergroup relationships, our social relationships and experiences? How do we do that healing work? And the invitation is to step into new ways forward, new ways of thinking about possibilities and solutions, and to create the dream that we have about how we want the world to be and how to put in the work to make that dream come to fruition. So, one of the things I shared this week. So I had 6 different installments throughout the week looking at these different themes and topics that show up in the eclipse chart. Not only the things I talked about, the opposition, the kite, the yods, also a square between Mars and Pluto, also a square between Venus and Uranus. I have videos on all of that. So you can look, and I have a blog post article that you can more easily scan to see where all the discussions were of these different topics and find what you're interested in. So I will put that in the description for this video. Also, you can go to my YouTube channel and see all of those 6 episodes are available there for viewing on each topic. So, as we think about this collective evolutionary process and evolutionary journey, one of the things I shared this week in my 6 episodes was how we can dream, right? We can sit at the bottom of the mountain for as long as we want, dreaming about what we want, dreaming about getting to that summit, but we're not going to get there unless we do something, unless we move. And so that's kind of a theme that gets woven through all of the other symbolism of today's eclipse chart is, what are you going to do? What are you personally going to look at or focus on for yourself? How can you show up? How can you think about your life and your creative work and your relationships and community and what that means for you and how you can think about positive ways of being and maybe changing some habits and patterns in the process, right? To leave behind what came from the past that doesn't serve you in the future, and to do that healing work in your day-to-day life. Or where do you need a course correction? Where do you need to see what is wrong so you can fix it? These are all themes I talked about throughout those 6 episodes. So, thinking about today, taking a nice deep breath to honor this process. If you can find it in your heart to feel gratitude for this opportunity to show up at this moment in history, right? I think this is a really powerful time. It is a time when your attitudes, your beliefs, your actions, your ways of caring and being present for others matter and make a big difference. So thinking about that today, honoring yourself and your needs, because getting your needs met, we talk about self-care here. Getting your needs met means that you have more energy to show up to make a positive difference. So it's not a selfish thing to take care of yourself. It is an investment. Okay. So think about that investment, and I do have a guided meditation to support you in working with these energies. It's only $15, and the link is in the description for this video. You can also find it on my website, astrologyheals.com, and I will put the links to each of this week's episodes on the eclipse so you can find what you're interested in, maybe rewatch something you've already watched and review it, or catch up on what you missed. So I will put the links to the videos. I will also put the link to that article that has basically all the information that was in those videos focusing on the eclipse and the eclipse chart. And so that's free. You can go check that out, scan through it, find what you want to know more about and read about it. There's a lot in there because it was 6 episodes, but hopefully I put headings in there to make it pretty scannable so you can find what you're interested in. It is in 2 parts. There's part 1, which was episode 1 through 3, and then part 2, which was episode 4 through 6. So 1 through 3 was the significance of 29 degrees Virgo. That was number 1. Number 2 was 3 yods. What are yods? You can learn all about yods in episode 2. Number 3 was about the opposition between the sun and moon and Saturn and Neptune, and how Saturn invites us to do the work to create the dream, to make the dream happen. That was episode 3. Episode 4 was about the kite and that fascinating alignment with not just the opposition, but the sextiles and the grand trine in air with the sun and moon not quite in Libra, so almost air, and new thinking and new ideas. And then 5 was the square between Mars and Pluto, transformational, volatile energies of those planets and how they interact. Mars pressure, Pluto transformation, the significance of that, and especially in how it aligns with dates related to things like the November 2024 election and other themes in US politics and social realities. And then the 6th episode was on Venus squaring Uranus, themes of feminine power and some things that are emerging in our consciousness going back to July 4th of this year. Significant date. That was the conjunction between Venus and Uranus. So just so many things to explore. Also, number 6 and Venus squaring Uranus, bringing in themes of money, values, funding, who's getting funding, right? What values are that funding based on? Resources, feminine power and restoring balance and justice, all those themes. So that was episode 6 yesterday. And finally, in episode 6, at the end, I did the screen share of the chart for today's eclipse. So check that out if you want to see what these shapes really look like in real life, on paper at least. And then you can look in the sky too, and you can't see all of it, but it's there. Um, and I'm Marina Orms, astrologyheals.com. You can book a reading with me there, and I'll include all of those links in the description for this video. I am here every day with astrology for unshakable self-care. So hit the subscribe button if you enjoy these videos, and check back with me as we follow these unfolding cycles and work with the moon and the moon sign and more, thinking about our self-care and how we can be our best selves to make a positive difference in the world around us. Lots of opportunities right now. All right, thanks for being here, and I will see you next time.